20 years ago, Coode Island blew up in a spectacular and scary manner. The tanks that are behind us were on fire. The smoke billowed over the city. I was the campaigner with the Hazardous Materials Action Group in those days, and we'd campaigned about Coode Island for 2 years before the actual fire. And I have to say, even though I knew the potential of what could happen, I was really surprised and incredibly frightened on the day that both government and industry felt it was all right not to fix up the problems here at Coode Island, and that it was all right to expose the local community and the CBD to incredibly toxic smoke. The inquiry that happened afterwards said that there needed to be a buffer zone or it needed to be moved. Neither of those things have happened, and in fact residential areas are much closer to Coode now than what they were 20 years ago. I think we really need to start looking at the kinds of materials that are stored in places like Coode. Do we need so many toxic materials? Do we need so many plastic bags? And we need to rethink totally the concepts around toxic storage. 20 years ago, Peter, the firefighters and the Firefighters Union were incredibly supportive of the community, and you really, tried to protect us. What are your memories of that day?
Well, that day was probably one of the turning points in relation to hazard facilities. Certainly, we had not seen a fire like that before here in Melbourne. Firefighters are very much a part of the community, and to say the fire was spectacular is one thing, but to actually look at how dangerous it was is another. I mean, the toxicity from that particular fire, we probably haven't seen the full effects of that.
And so for firefighters, because especially you keep fighting these kind of fires, what kind of effect does that have on firefighters?
Well, you see, unfortunately this is very graphic, a very large fire, but every house fire, every small structure fire that a firefighter goes to is actually a mini Coode Island, because the toxic environment is very similar, and it's that multiple accumulation of exposure that has caused cancer amongst firefighters. So it's an occupational hazard for us, and it's an unavoidable one.
And do you think people in the community are aware of that and aware of, how vulnerable firefighters are to it?
Well, firefighters go about their business on a daily basis. They don't seek accolades. They certainly don't promote what they do, and of course I don't think the community are aware. I know the community value their firefighters, but that toxic environment, as I said, each structure fire, each house fire is a mini Coode Island for firefighters. The exposure, the accumulated exposure is now known to cause cancer, certain types of cancers in firefighters. That's an unavoidable risk for us.
And so obviously the bill that Adam Vance is putting into the federal parliament is something that, you as the union are very keen on.
That bill is significant because in North America they've addressed this issue. It's unavoidable. The only way to avoid it is to not enter a structure. To do that, someone will lose their life. It's directly opposite to what fire services is about. So we need to protect the protectors, and that bill's a very good bill.
Yes, thank you.
Neighbours of the Coode Island gas plant fear history could repeat itself if plans to store highly flammable gas there are approved. They warn the move could also make Melbourne more of a terror target.
This is exactly what nearby residents of Coode Island fear could happen again. A repeat of the 1991 toxic chemical disaster if the go-ahead is given to a gas storage idea.
I was horrified because butadiene is a particularly dangerous chemical. Coode Island is 500 metres to the nearest house.
The liquid gas butadiene is a highly flammable gas used in the manufacture of latex for carpet and paper products. Its risk rating is more dangerous than any materials currently stored at the facility. Coode Island's Hazardous Materials Action Group says the plan has disaster written all over it.
Clearly, in enough quantities, and if it was released into the atmosphere, the scientific evidence suggests that this could cause major health problems.
Storing butadiene at either Coode Island or at Geelong requires Environment Protection Authority approval, and that includes public consultation. The EPA says while it knows of the proposal, it can't comment because no formal application has been made. Neither operator at Coode Island was available for comment. Carolee Torvern, 7 News.